Welcome back. Today is Friday, March 14th, which is affectionately known as Pi Day. Not for the dessert, but rather the number pi. Joining us today, Dr. Larry Lesser, a professor of mathematical sciences over at UTEP. Dr. Lesser, thank you so much for joining us. You are the Pied Piper of pi. Self-proclaimed, but very, very appropriate, Dr. Lesser. Let's talk about pie, right? Not the dessert, even though I'm sure we could both go for a slice right now. But I was just talking to our Washington correspondent, Maddie, and she goes, Ian, I don't even really know what pi is. What is pi, Dr. Lesser?
So pi is a number, and I have a little frisbee here. It's the distance around a circle divided by the distance across a circle. And that value is the same for any size of a circle.
Okay, so how do we use it, right? It is, of course, involved in a lot of mathematical formulas, but it has applications to real life as well, as do so many parts of mathematics. So talk about some of the really cool applications that people at home can use pi for every day.
Sure. Well, I mean, you mentioned the connection with pi, P-I-E.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So suppose you're going to buy some pizza pie, right? And you're trying to see what's the best deal. Maybe there's a 16-inch pizza and an 8-inch pizza.
Okay.
You might think intuitively that the 16-inch pizza has twice as much pizza as the 8-inch pizza.
It would be double the inches.
But if you know the formula for the area of a circle, pi r squared, it actually gives you 4 times as much pizza. And so based on knowing that, you can decide whether the price gives you the better deal for the large or the medium. And usually the large actually is the better deal.
You wrote down so many different things here. A lot of people around here as well love to order their cowboy hats, right? We all got our favorite cowboy hat. How can you use pi to order the best hat for yourself online as well?
Sure. So if you aren't going to be able to try it on, if you're ordering it online, then what you would do is you would take a tape measure at home and you would go around the biggest part of your head where the hat is.
You can do it.
And after you do that, you take that number and you divide it by the number pi.
Okay, let's see.
And that would give you the diameter in inches.
Let's see.
And that would be your hat size.
What do we got here?
Looks like we have about 22 and a half. Divide that by pi, and you're talking about a 7, close to a 7.
How about that? That's funny. When I go out to buy hats, 7 1/8 is what I buy for the hat. How about that? That's exactly right. Okay, let's talk about some fun appearances of pi. Talk to me about that. What does that mean?
So pi just comes up in a lot of, it comes up in expected places like formulas involving cones and cylinders and spheres as well as circles. Mm-hmm. The students have to deal with that on the STAR exam, for example. Mm-hmm. But it also just comes up in unexpected places like the formula for a bell curve, or things involving pendulums, or quantum mechanics, or heartbeats, things that are cyclical. Even things like if you drop a bunch of needles on a grid of parallel lines, the pi comes out in that formula. It's not obvious why, but it just does. And so it comes up in a lot of unusual places. It's even in the Bible. And, there's King Solomon had 10 cubits across and 30 cubits round, this ritual basin. And of course, that gives you a value of about 3 for pi. And pi is a little bit more than 3. You can verify that. So, for example, if you had a circle, here's the diameter across this frisbee, this ribbon, and you could take this ribbon and move it around the perimeter, the circumference, and you would see that it goes around 3 times and a little more.
How about that? All right, Dr. Lesser, thank you very much. We're going to get you back to close out the show here. I'm sure you got some real quick stuff you can share with us before we go. First, your El Paso Honda Golf Index is Tuesday. Okay, we've decided to keep Dr. Lesser around for a little while as we close out our show here. Now, part of Pi Day is remembering pi and the number and all the formulas, and you got a couple of songs that you can do just that. So before we go, we would be remiss if we didn't get you to sing your pi songs that you have for us.
So the digits of pi, they start off 3.14159. If you remember the Tommy Two-Tone song, you can go 3.14159. But I rewrote the song American Pie, the Don McLean #1 hit, and the chorus goes Find the value of pi starts 3.14159. A good old fraction you may hope to define, but the decimal never dies. The decimal never dies.
Hair and wardrobe.
Beauty. Well, today is 3/14. Today is Pi Day. Earlier this morning, our KTSM 9 News anchor Ian Roth got to chat with UTEP Mathematical Sciences professor Larry Lesser about what makes today so special.
And we're back with Dr. Larry Lesser from the UTEP Mathematics Department, the Pied Piper of pi. Probably nobody better to ask the question about the digits of pi. That's what makes pi so famous, right? Is that the digits are sort of endless. They just keep going and going and going.
Right.
So there's some world records that are held. Talk to us about the digits in pi.
Sure, there's an infinite number of digits because it never ends or goes into a pattern. And there's so far 105 trillion digits are known of this number. And the world record for someone to recite digits of pi from memory is 70,000. And the world record to recite digits of pi while juggling is 9,000.
So how many digits of pi do you think you could do? I know you said you don't know many, but I want to get your take. How many do you think you could do? Let's erase this real quick. We've already cheated here. Okay, I want you to take this marker and I want you to see how many you could do off memory, because we have the chart right here. 3.141592. Oh, there you go. 6. There you go. We got one pretty good. Listen, he's human, just like us. He might know a lot about pi, but he got pretty far. That's not that bad. Dr. Lesser, that's good stuff.
Well, it's Pi Day, not the dessert or pizza, but the number 314. Earlier this morning, our KTSM 9 News anchor Ian Roth got to chat with Larry Lesser, a UTEP Mathematical Sciences professor, about Pi Day. And he has a fun fact about pizzas.
We got Dr. Larry Lesser from the UTEP Mathematics Department with us here on this Pi Day, the Pied Piper of pi. We're going to be talking about pi the number and pi the actual thing, the actual pi.
Right, and those are connected because you can see 3.14. If you flip this, you get pi, like a pizza pie.
How about that? So like a pizza pie, there's a fun thing that folks at home can do at home, a little bit of a mathematical equation to figure out how much value they're getting out of a pizza pie and their sizes.
Absolutely. Suppose you go into a pizza shop and they give you a choice of a 16-inch diameter pizza and an 8-inch diameter pizza. You might think that the bigger pizza is giving you twice as much pizza, but it's actually giving you 4 times as much pizza.
Why is that, though?
It's because the formula for the area of a circle is pi r squared. So by doubling the radius, you're actually quadrupling the area.
How about that? That's good stuff.
Well, how interesting was that? Okay, well, now you know.
Now, as we told you earlier before, it's Pi Day. It's not the dessert or it's not the pizza kind either. It's rather the number 314. Earlier this morning, our KTSM 9 News anchor Ian Roth got to chat with Larry Lesser, a UTEP Mathematical Sciences professor.
That's right. Not only does he talk about the importance of pi, Kelly, but he throws in some pizza knowledge. Check it out.
We got Dr. Larry Lesser from the UTEP Mathematics Department with us here on this Pi Day, the Pied Piper of pi. We're going to be talking about pi the number and pi the actual thing, the actual pi.
Right, and those are connected because you can see 3.14. If you flip this, you get pi, like a pizza pie.
How about that? So like a pizza pie, there's a fun thing that folks at home can do at home, a little bit of a mathematical equation to figure out how much value they're getting out of a pizza pie and their sizes.
Absolutely. Suppose you go into a pizza shop and they give you a choice of a 16-inch diameter pizza and an 8-inch diameter pizza. You might think that the bigger pizza is giving you twice as much pizza, but it's actually giving you 4 times as much pizza.
Why is that, though?
It's because the formula for the area of a circle is pi r squared. So by doubling the radius, you're actually quadrupling the area.
How about that? That's good stuff.
Our thanks to Ian for that report. Who knew there's so much behind pi, Kelly?
There's so many different ways that pi is tied together, whether it be the actual dessert, the number, an inverted number, or I guess it being upside down. It still all relates to pi in one way or another.
String theory, but